I think all the speakers are there, and we are already like 1 minute late. We're going to kickstart any moment from now. Okay, I think we're good to go. Welcome to Afro Skills. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah, I'm welcoming you all to Afro Skills platform. This is, of course, Afro Skills is one of those organizations that have decided to make a milestone across Africa with its slogan, Transforming Africa with Knowledge. And of course, it's an event platform. Just to remind us before we kickstart on today's event, which is focusing on women, just to tell us that Afro Skills is an event platform. So okay, I want to appreciate everyone joining in right now. So I want to have at least a significant number of people to kickstart with the discussion for this day. And before that, I was talking about Afro Skills, a platform, an events platform that has been brought to the fore, where we seek to contribute our own quarter towards the transformation of the continent Africa through knowledge. You can see from our slogan, Transforming Africa through knowledge. Information, they always say, is power. So there's this huge drive among us all to see that the continent is great. The continent occupies the situation or the position where it has to be in the nearest future. And you all are most welcome. Now, we're going to start today's program, which is focused on the role of women in ensuring peace and international cooperation. This is very vital. And today, AfroSkills decided to focus on women, looking at their contributions towards solving the problems of the world. And to reiterate that this program is going to be divided, of course, into three segments. We'll have a general introduction where I present to you the topic of discussion, the panelists, and of course, each speaker will be given 15 minutes to do a presentation on the topic for today, which is centered on the role of women in ensuring peace and international cooperation. We actually choose this topic because it is vital, happening at a time where there is turbulence across the world, and we want to understand fully what international cooperation is all about, what peace is all about, and why these two are actually imperative or important if we want to solidify the world and, of course, make use of the advantages of multilateralism. This is the 21st century. And of course, so many changes are occurring in the global world. But then when we look at the stakeholders who are at the fore trying to redefine the new world order, we cannot undermine the place or relegate the woman. And that's why today, under the auspices of Afro Skills, we are going to get more details and see the position of women in contributing, in solving problems, in ensuring that we have a peaceful world, and ensuring that there is total international or global cooperation. After that, we're going to have a question and answer session. This is where I will emphasize that our participants joining us will also have the possibility to direct the questions to all of the speakers right here, and they can put down their questions in the comment sector, highlighting the speaker that wants to answer this question. And that is how this webinar is going to run. Of course, it's a knowledge series of moments for us to share knowledge with each other. And on this note, I would be glad and I'm most delighted to introduce to you panel this day. And let me start by acknowledging the presence of Yulia Berg, who is joining us from Russia. She's a political scientist. Hello to you, Yulia, and thank you for accepting this invitation by AfroSkills to throw more light or to give insight on this very important topic, the role of women in ensuring peace and global cooperation.
Thank you. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. Very much looking forward to hearing the presentation and having this discussion today.
Indeed, it's a pleasure having you with us today to actually throw more light on this very important topic at a time where geopolitics has increased across the globe, at a time where international cooperation is at stake because of the discrepancies existing among nations of the world. But then, can we come as one? Can we put on a concerted effort to solve the problems of the world? We have climate change, we have the health hazards, and of course, other problems which we'll mention in the course of the program. So how can we do this? We need peace, we need stability to be able to stand as one. And of course, let's also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Rosalina Kember, who is a doctor of philosophy in political sciences, Sweden, but today she's joining us from Nigeria. Hello to you, Dr. Rosalina. A pleasure having you on this platform this day.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Rosalina.
Yes, please. Yeah, it's my pleasure joining. I think it's a great opportunity for me to be able to disseminate knowledge and equally learn from other people, get updated information on what is really happening around the world.
Which is very much imperative. Like I always say, we cannot dissociate ourselves from the happenings around the world. We cannot ignore what is happening, especially at the political sphere. We have to be informed, to be able to take, of course, concrete decisions pertaining the problems of the world. And going to India, let's say welcome to Madam Purnima Anand. She is BRICS International Forum President. Hello to you, Purnima, and thanks for joining us this day. Hello.
Thank you very much, Clarice. How are you? First of all, congratulations to all women from all corners of the world. Today you connected after one day of International Women Day. So I congratulate to all of us for this very auspicious connectivity today under AfroSkill program. I congratulate all the team members who are conducting this program. So I hope this will be a very interesting discussion today, because today I can see women are from all corners, Asia, Africa, Europe, and Russia are connecting here. So I wish all ladies very good luck, and we will have very good discussion today.
Indeed, dear Purnima, we are looking forward to having a very good and constructive discussion pertaining our topic, which is centered on the role of women in ensuring peace and international cooperation. And of course, let's go now to Germany. We are being joined by Ivor Benhart. She's head of international relations evolution at Berlin International. Hello to you, dear Bernhardt, and thanks for joining us this day to share your insight on this very important topic.
Thank you, dear Clarice. Looking forward to be among strong women here discussing women in multilateralism. And it's the first time for me being it's the first time to me to be and I'm looking forward to share my rich experience in international cooperation and peace building with you.
Very much important. Thank you so much. Just to remind our participants that when you join, please do endeavor to mute your sound so that you will not disrupt the discussions as we continue to look at the world's challenges, and of course discuss how the women can come in as great stakeholders towards contributing to this peace and international cooperation. Just to underline that our objective for this webinar is first of all to discuss the stakes of international cooperation, look at the challenges of international cooperation in contemporary society, ascertain the role or the place of women in global issues, and also analyze the place of women in ensuring, of course, international cooperation. Like I underlined earlier, it's going to be in 3 segments. I think we're going straight away to the second. I will start with you, Eva Bernhardt, for you to give your own presentation regarding our topic for discussion. And of course, you have 15 minutes to do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clarice. Just to tell you, my name is Eva, not Iva. It's pronounced Eva. It's not Iva.
Oh,
You know,
okay, sorry for that.
Cyrillic, no problem.
Sorry
In
for
Cyrillic
that.
alphabet, Yulia will know. In Cyrillic alphabet, we write as we speak, so that's why it's
Okay.
Eva. Yeah.
Okay, Eva.
Yes, I will talk about international cooperation, women, and multilateralism, and how do they. What important role they play in multilateralism and ensuring peace. I will give examples of current and past German politics because they're very interesting. The German Foreign Ministry has brought a feminist foreign policy, so I want to share this with you because I think that this is the way how the world should function. It is actually what we are looking for here. As we know, international cooperation and multilateralism is a vital force in enforcing humanitarian aid, development cooperation, and peace promotion. It should be strengthened, especially in this new world of today. The political and economic developments that have marked our world in the last 10 years have given us a completely new perception as to how to define this new world and how to reinvigorate global connectivity challenged by interconnected crises around the globe. Today, I mean, 3 years, 4 years ago, I think this, what is happening now wouldn't have been really so common that we meet from different corners around the world. I come originally from Macedonia, but I'm Macedonian and German, but I live in Jamaica at the moment. We have Clarice in Cameroon, we have Yulia in Russia, we have in India, I forgot the name of the lady, and we have a lady in Nigeria, Sweden. Yeah, so basically it's really an interesting get together of us women. Unfortunately, all this was caused by a very crucial challenge, a health hazard that started with the Ebola economic outbreak in Africa in 2014, ended 2016. I wouldn't like to see it so, but it is like this because I travel to Africa all the time during the Ebola epidemic, to West Africa. Actually, my first journey back then was 2014 in the Gambia, where instead of embracing ourselves and giving us 2 kisses, we had to do like this and like this, you know, like a heart, salutation. So basically this started then and only prepared us for what was going to happen with the global 19 pandemics that followed us ever since 2019. These adverse effects of these epidemics and pandemics have hit Africa, the least developed countries and developing countries throughout the world the most. But the latter, the COVID-19 pandemics, together with this terrible war that we have with Russia in Ukraine, left unbearable economic consequences on the developing and developed countries, because we have devastating inflation effects on the strong economies as well. So, of course, the poorer suffer more, but also the especially the marginalized groups that I will talk, women and marginalized groups in developing economies, in developed economies, they suffer as well. The women and marginalized groups, as I said, both in developing and developed parts of the world, have been hit the most out of all these challenges. On top of these challenges, the well-known burning themes as climate change, geopolitical tensions, and the political instability in Africa pose huge threats to multilateralism. We have changed the paradigms and brought about inertia and great discrepancy about countries and nations. International also impact geopolitical relations, security and international trade, and geoeconomics. Finally, I think time has really come to see women's contribution in effecting global change and ensuring peace and international cooperation. Lately, we have more and more women in strong international positions. Like the Undersecretary General Amina Mohammed, the ex-Minister of Environment of Nigeria, has been in function many years and the UN General. Germany has recognized the role of women in ensuring peace and multilateralism since a long time, and has recognized the crucial role that women play in the society, in peace and security, and especially increasing the voice of women in politics, and has thus given power to strong women coming from diverse backgrounds in politics. Women need a significant space to bring peace, stability, and ensuring global cooperation in today's, I would call it, wild world. I will start with a brilliant female star in multilateral politics that comes from Germany, a little bit historical from a perspective nowadays. I'm sure all of you know her very well, Angela Merkel. Once upon a time, back in 2015, the most powerful woman of the world back then in the world, Angela Merkel, she's my personal political idol, let's put it like this. Because she was genuinely into politics to help her country, let's say, grow and sustain the level of development it has. She changed the world to ensure peace building and international cooperation by mastering the refugee crisis. Much later, UNESCO has awarded her now in February 2023 with the Peace Prize for her brave decision to welcome more than 1.2 million migrants to Germany. Distance home and among European partners, which divides Germany at the moment that we're speaking as well. But she paved the way for her successors to be continuing her path of women's presence in multilateral politics. She played a key role in the European Union integration process, fostering unity and keeping the European Union together, making it stronger. Her premise was always a sustainable growth with inclusion, which I think it's really like what we are looking for everywhere in the developing countries, in Africa especially. We need sustainable growth with inclusion, especially inclusion of the youth and the young generation. And as you said, Clarissa, I think you mentioned it before, for me, the only way out of poverty is through knowledge and education. So that's why the Afro Skills platform is perfect. And I'm happy that that my peer, my colleague Aaron, has introduced me to this platform to share my experience with Afro Skills. The G20 initiative compact with Africa back in 2017 under Germany's presidency of G20 was a result of Merkel's initiative as well. The goal of this initiative is to promote private investment in Africa, including in infrastructure, in order to attract private investment potential investment in micro businesses and financial frameworks in order to encourage the private sector to seize African economic opportunities in supporting the sustainable growth and especially for young people. Less known but as powerful are the names that you probably many of you never heard of in the present politics of Germany. Annalena Baerbock is the current Minister of Foreign Affairs. Svenja Schulze is the Minister of Developmental Cooperation. Jennifer Morgan is the present State Secretary in the German Foreign Ministry, and Helga Maria Schmidt is the General Secretary of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, among many others. If we ask ourselves what is the common denominator for all these women, it will be that they're all participating in shaping peace and international cooperation and security worldwide. If I am allowed to move to Svenja Schulze, who is now Germany's Federal Minister of Economic Cooperation and Development, she has continued the efforts of her predecessor Gerd Müller that pioneered the Marshall Plan with Africa in January 2017. This Marshall Plan with Africa takes the lead from the African Union's Agenda 2063. As Dr. Müller once stated, we need a change of paradigm and must understand that Africa is not a continent of cheap resources, but that the people there require infrastructure and a future. In a recent evaluation that I'm doing at the moment on sustainable infrastructure, one famous UNEP diplomat just told me in an interview that for him, the infrastructure is a key success factor of the UN Agenda 2030 of the Sustainable Development Goals, because we need to build strong infrastructure in order to be able to build strong societies, strong and healthy societies. Dr. Müller has continued and broadened his mission to reduce poverty and achieve inclusive and sustainable, environmentally sustainable pattern of globalization through sustainable industrial development, innovation, and employment creation in his new role as Director General of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization since 2021. Mrs. Schulze, the German Development Cooperation Minister, has now a little bit, let's say, refined her Africa strategy, where sustainability plays a major role, which is highly expected at the age of climate change, the effects of which are clearly being felt by African countries the most. Germany wants to promote the socially equitable and environmentally friendly transformation of Africa economies. And the ministry plans to support countries in expanding renewable energies and in creating new jobs, especially for young people. According to the ministry, 25 million new jobs need to be created on the continent every year as Africa experiences rapid population growth. The plan is that 2.5 billion people could be living on the continent by 2050. In foreign, to go a little bit deeper in the feminist policy and how the women are really shaping multilateralism, I will mention German's favorite modern day politician, Annalena Baerbock, who is only 40. She's pretty young and has brought up the feminist, is a very, I think that's why she's German's favorite politician at the moment, because even though she's young at age, she really brought up a very brave steps to shape international cooperation. First of all, a feminist foreign policy, which she is praising all the time, following the footsteps of Sweden, Canada, and Mexico. Women's rights are a barometer of the state the societies are in. The feminist foreign policy is not only directed to women, but it rather places a stronger focus on all the people that have been pushed to the margin of society. And this is what I was talking about, of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemics on the amount.
Should we be concluding already?
Sorry? Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, but you should be concluding already. Yeah.
So basically, we have the feministic foreign policy in Germany. We have another major aspect of climate change in the foreign politics, which is new. And to conclude, there is a clear nexus between climate change and security, where climate change is seen as one of the worst challenges to food, water, and energy security for ensuring peace worldwide. Women having their role in society as natural pacifists should ensure to have full and equal representation and participation in all levels of peace processes and security efforts. Furthermore, as women have shown to be good negotiators and excellent crisis managers, I want to state here the example of Mrs. Jacinda Ardern, who was praised and commended for best mastering the COVID-19 pandemics worldwide on a lonely island where she couldn't afford it otherwise. Basically, to the pandemic spreads, women should be and remain stable, vital, sustainable, and driving force of international cooperation. Thank you, Clarice.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Indeed, women should remain a strong driving force for international cooperation. Listening to that wonderful presentation from you, and of course, which you have highlighted so many things. And of course, it's a knowledge sharing series. And of course, you underlined Africa is not a continent of poor resources, but of course, it's a continent that is richly endowed in both natural and human resources. And how can we use aspects like multilateralism to our own advantage? Because one advantage of multilateralism is to see that growing economies become so buoyant. So at this juncture, how can those very vital or strong women across the continent Africa help to take the central stage as we continue to look forward to having peace and sustaining global cooperation? Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll be coming to you, Dr. Rosalina Kumber, Doctor of Philosophy in Political Sciences, to get your own viewpoint pertaining at topic for discussion, thus the role of women in ensuring peace and also international cooperation. As a political scientist, what do you think are the stakes in this contemporary society that the world is taking another turn, another dimension, especially at the political sphere? And how can we come together, bridge the gap existing between nations to ensure that we solve some of these problems highlighted by Ivor? I hope I got the name correctly this time around.
Eva,
Eva, of course, climate change and so on and so forth, to solve these problems affecting the global world. You have the floor. Hello to you, Dr. Rosalie. Can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you get me now? Okay. I think before I get into the discussion,
I can.
Is it fine? Okay.
Fine.
Yes, I think before I get into the discussion, we're trying to understand the role women play in maintaining global peace and security. But before we get into that, I want us to be reminded of, first of all, why the need for women to play a role in global peace and security. Before that, we need to first of all understand why there is that need. It is as a result of conflicts. There are lots of conflicts around the world which is ongoing, and there is need for those conflicts to be brought to an end. Consequently, women has a role, and they have been identified as such for various reasons. The reason for conflict we need to understand is as a result of poverty, struggle over human resources, the violation of human rights. And whenever there's a conflict, it comes with a lot of effects that affects the population or a nation in general. Some of the effects could be bombing, pandemics, epidemics, torture, imprisonment, migration, amongst others. So in order to resolve some of these issues, women are called upon to play a vital role. Basically, if we look at women, we see them like successful people, because wherever women place their hand, it's a success. Just as Eva has mentioned, she has highlighted a lot of powerful women and their contribution in resolving peace and global security. So if I try to understand things from a biological or a behavioral perspective, I would say women are not like violent prone as compared to men. Women would rather choose to resolve issues through discussions instead of engaging in war and fighting. Also, women are often victims of war, and that makes them capable of playing a vital role, because through their stories, they are able to contribute more. Women are people who are capable to advance. They can easily access, let's say, education, water, resources, healthcare, amongst others. And in terms of them participating in resolving issues of security, although women may not fully make certain decisions, they are able to contribute in other ways. Let's look at it at a local level, let's say in terms of their partners, they may be able to encourage them towards making decisions. I know before women were not really much in participation, but we can all agree that of recent, there's a lot of changes that has been made, because they've actually seen how successful the women that have been in leadership positions, or women that have carried roles towards ensuring cooperation between nations, that have actually succeeded in it. So this has made it possible for women to actually gain some space, that they can now participate in the public, they can be made leaders, and of course, they can equally contribute in issues of peace. This means that women can be seen as facilitators. I'm just talking about women generally, because there are lots of women there that with the time space, I could not actually say, let me identify specific women to focus on. The women, we see them as facilitators. They are capable of bringing conflicting parties to a dialogue table. I know, for example, I think in Sierra Leone, when there was a war, it was a long time of war, and the population was actually tired, and the women actually marched in request of peace. So within the time that they marched, it actually drew the attention of the international community and other stakeholders who actually stepped in now to try and see how the matter could be resolved. So because of that, we see how influential women can be. Also, women work with, I think, peacemaker to detect conflict-related areas and how this conflict can actually be resolved. So I'm speaking basically in relation to conflict, because I think conflict is actually the main reason that there is a need for peace and security around the world. Women equally contribute and support in building institutions or places of law, justice, and order. Then at a very local level, there are situations where people may be in challenging situations due to war. Women have always stepped in to see how they can provide things like accommodation, especially for those who don't have shelter, or for people who have been affected by issues that is ravishing the world at large. So women in that case, we can see that they play a very vital role. That is to say, women contribute in economic and social development, because in some situations, women have actually been there, they stand in the family as sole providers before and after war. And also, I think I just want to leave it at that level, because I focus basically on the role women play generally in contributing to peace and security, either directly or indirectly. So thank you. Hello?
Clarice, please unmute.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Roslina, for elaborating on the role of women. Of course, this one we're here today to try to bring to the world, to the fore, the place of women, especially in contemporary society. And it's also a platform for us to challenge other women who are still actually shying away to take the bold step and, of course, make their voices heard positively, like you underlined. Women are very good peace negotiators. And in the aspect of development, when we look especially across Africa, we see that women make up a bulk of the informal sector. And one of the objectives of Afro Skills is to promote development in Africa and entrepreneurship. How can we do that? Of course, we look at how we can build the private sector, and women cannot be left behind. Reason why we're here today, continuing to underline the place of women, and of course challenging them not to remain at the level of the family, but then to get involved in global issues. I'll underline that in 2022, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized the urgency for more effective and inclusive global cooperation to address contemporary or modern day challenges. Inclusive, both men and women should be at the fore in solving the problems faced by the global world. We're going to continue with Madam Purnima Anand, who joined from India, and on the BRICS International Forum as BRICS International Forum President. Madam Purnima, we give you the opportunity now to give your own insight, general perspective on this topic, the role of women in ensuring peace and global cooperation, especially at this time where we see the quest to define a new world order.
Thank you very much, Clarice. I heard the discussion today when Eva was speaking from Europe. I heard his ideas and thought process. My very good friends, Julia Berg is here, Dragana is here, and I can see Ingrid also. So we all are here, and since long time, we are working together for world peace and world security matters. And especially Julia, me and Dragana visited Africa many times, especially in political issues when elections were happening, and we saw the realities there. We saw what is the level of poverty. We saw how Africa is rising. We saw Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela House, how they struggled for the freedom. So this all give us practical analysis. And today I can discuss very well that what is the role of women in current world peace scenario. Because topic one side is very common, and one side we should analyze very well in this discussion today, especially when you are speaking about Afro skill. And I know your channel is well connected with the Pan Africa people, and this message is going with the African women. So during last 75 years, if we see that in all countries, either it is Europe or it is Africa or it is Asia or Latin America, in all corners, women played very important role for the sustainability, for the development of the family, for the development of their country and motherland. So how it is happening and what are the positive things and what is the negative things happened during these 8 decades of the development of new system. Today we already entered after COVID in digital age. Before that we were in industrial age and we were working on the corporate group, and women got new responsibility because in older time women were having very important responsibility of the family, as well as when woman is going outside they are involved in the agriculture, and all agricultural ancient activities move around women, and man was able to go get the crop and go to the market to sell. This was the normal system. But now everything changing and taking place, because after industrialization, corporate world developed and women got new responsibility as a corporate executive, where she played very important role in finance, in execution, administration, marketing, as well as in their social and cultural system to develop the corporate culture in the society. So this was a new then role of the women after industrialization, you can say, or after United Nations developed, or when we started women issues under women empowerment programs and International Women Day celebrations. So new kind of responsibilities generated, and where women face a lot of problems, because we saw that in corporate world, women had huge responsibility, and in decision making, their role was negligible. Slowly, they come at the top level, and it was also marginalized when company having their executive at middle level, many women's work at the top level, very reasonable, less presence of the women is observed. But slowly in banking sector, in medical sector, in scientific sector, women played important role, and they achieved their position, and they played a role where peace automatically moved around. If women is there, no fight, because they try to compromise everywhere, they try to adjust everywhere. So this was the important role in before 90s, I can say, women played, and she struggled so much because everywhere society was changing and new systems were developing, especially in Africa. Africa was passing through revolution time. Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela, and many other revolutionary people was awakening African society. And many European countries were having colonial system in Africa. So it was very difficult time for the women to understand what is their own tribal and agriculture system, how corporate is developing, and how they should compare themselves with the white skin colonial people. So this was very difficult time, as I can understand, because in India and Asia, we are also black skin and medium skin. But when this white skin influence came in our countries, how society changed. We also faced the freedom movement, and women played very important role. We cannot forget many women leaders, and among them, all of you know about Indira Gandhi. She played very important role with her father, and later on she became Prime Minister of India, and she created new strategies for Indian development. Sorry. So this was the phase, and later on women make their position, they come in the decision making, they entered in the parliament, and they played important role in decision making. And we saw that big progress in many countries, prime minister and president were women. And we can see Queen Elizabeth played very important role during her life. Only last year she does no more, but she played very important whole world. All the time and leadership.
Please,
COVID.
I'm sorry to cut you, Madam Funima. Just to remind our participants to mute their sound, their mic immediately they join us, please, so that they do not interrupt the discussion. Thank you so much. You can write on. You have 5 minutes, Madam Funima.
Okay. Thank you. So now I'm coming after COVID, because during COVID, we saw that women again played very important role, and whole responsibility came on the shoulder of women to maintain the peace in the families, because children are at family, husband is at families, and other because in Asia and Africa we are joint families. So we are having, you know, more responsibilities, corporate responsibility, social responsibility, as well as family responsibility. So in all circumstances, we observe that women played important role, and they are keeping peace and adjustment around them. And if they are able to manage peace, then whole society, whole family is in the peaceful environment. And if women is not able to manage the peace, then whole society get disturbed and mess. Now after COVID, we can see that immediately that Ukraine crisis started, and world was coming up, and world was trying to reset their all economic and political balancing. But Ukraine crisis started, and immediately we saw that world is stretching between two poles, and NATO and the European Union and the American policies were not able to maintain the peace, and this matter stretched, as we can see now. And we all observe that how women played important role at the border of Ukraine and Russia, because whatever war region is, I'm not going to discuss it here, but I'm interested to discuss the role of women at the border, because everywhere, either it is Ukrainian soldiers or Russian soldiers, they are going in the war. And what they left at the families, children's, old people, and women have to manage everything. Either it is Ukraine or it is Russia, or it is rehabilitated families which are suffering and going from Ukraine to Russia or Ukraine to Europe. So everywhere women are managing, and women is trying to make the balance. So this is very important, and today's topic is very important. We will discuss in next round, because I think my time is completing, and
Indeed.
thank you.
Okay, thank you to dear Punima, for that explicit insight on a topic for discussion. And we're going to run off this segment with Yulia Berg for joining from Russia, of course, giving her an insight or general view on the place of women in peace and international cooperation. After that presentation, we will go now into answering some of the key questions pertaining our question or our topic for discussion this day. Coming back to you again, dear Yulia, thank you again for joining us this day.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be speaking at this event, and to be able to join the company of amazing ladies here. So I would like to focus in my speech on some other aspects of the role of women in the modern day processes, right, and establishing peace and cooperation. And I would like to add a little bit of a metaphysical twist to it as well, to this discussion, to see how this can be applied, and to see if there is something above and beyond those concepts that we're focusing on at the moment in this entire conversation. So I would like to speak maybe not even about the role of women, but the role of female energy by itself in those processes, right? And we have, well, a lot of us have just recently celebrated the 8th of March, the International Women's Day. That is big in many countries in the world. And to me, it's also a very indicative holiday, because on the one hand, the reason why the celebration was created was to celebrate the fact that females have received much more rights, and rights to be a part of politics, which was essential in terms of how the celebration was founded, right? Women could enter politics through voting. Then later, women received the right to be elected as politicians. Women received the right to be playing different roles in business. But unfortunately, all of this came as a result of a lot of struggles that women had to go through to prove their right to be equal in terms of political rights, to prove their right to be equal in terms of taking part in business. And unfortunately, just like Purnima was mentioning right now, some of it came as a result of big crises, right? And you know, the wars that have taken a lot of men, and the fact that it was absolutely necessary to take up new responsibilities in terms of managing not just only families, but managing businesses, occupying those positions that were not, let's say, typical before. So that's how the strength was being built in the modern day business and political landscape, right? And the other aspect of the celebration that was just taking place is, as always, you know, it's a beautiful holiday of spring, a beautiful holiday when a lot of, you know, warmth is being disseminated. A lot of people talk about the beauty, the constructive role of females. But in my understanding, the female energy itself, in a lot of cases, is a bit misinterpreted. So what I would like to focus on at the moment is the concept of, you know, this, let's say, divine feminine, those archetypes that we can observe in our in folklore all over the world, and those myths and fairy tales, and in biblical stories in any religion. We would see those very different female figures that have this different type of strength, I would say. So it's what we now call the soft skills in the most cases. It's what we now call the soft power, right? It's the ability to use diplomacy, the ability to negotiate, the ability to build quality communication, focused at cooperation rather than using the hard skills. And a lot of things, a lot of processes that we observe in the world right now are, I would say, a fail of diplomacy, right? So any war, any crisis that historically we were seeing anywhere on this planet is just because let's say, arguments and conversations were not enough, diplomacy was not enough, and that's why the hard force was and is being used. So if we come back to the very core and the very, you know, key topic of today's discussion, the role of women in peace and cooperation, I think it is essential, but it's not enough just to be, let's say, a biological woman. And even this concept is being widely discussed in today's agenda. We see how even those concepts are being put under question mark, right? So sometimes even in very formal environment, people are seriously discussing the very definition of what a woman is, right? So it's not enough to be a biological woman to be transmitting this female energy. If we talk about the, let's say, archetypical understanding of it, or the understanding that we received in our traditions, let's say. Even this right now is being very much questioned, but going back to the very concept of divine feminine, and each of us, every human being, has both sides to it, because this is again biologically how it takes two, right, to create this new life, and each of us has both energies, the feminine and the masculine energy, where one as we understand it, at least, or a lot of us understand it, at least, one is responsible for creation, cooperation, inspiration, this kind of things, creating the atmosphere, manifesting something from the world of ideas to the world of reality. And this is how women produce other human beings, right, as well. And masculine energy, that is about you know, more of impulses, more of achievement. It's a different type of a force. Those are you know, as it's created, you know, those are equal yet different in terms of their specific features. And I think it's important to understand it. When we talk about the role of women, in most cases, this is exactly what we imply: the ability to use soft skills instead of using hard skills, the ability to build bridges and use communication in the first place, rather than just using some harsh methods that often times lead to destruction. Yes, sometimes side effects of that destruction and sometimes the side effects of those negative processes can be positive as well. And this is again related to the example that I used in terms of women entering politics and business and whatsoever else when there was in many cases just lack of men, or it was a result of a huge struggle and many street protests and whatsoever else. I mean, this history is well known to all of us, I think. But the point right now, we're coming to this critical point, I believe, in human history, when a lot of things needs to be once again thought over. And if we really dive deeper into some of the modern day findings and modern day research and the traditions, if we look closer at some of the archetypes and see how different the understanding could be, and even looking at some of the archetypes and some of the goddesses that we see in myths like Kali, right? In some of the Indian tradition, goddess Kali, she at the same time is responsible for destruction and creation and a lot of it. So when we look at the biblical tradition and when we look at the quite often forgotten figure of Lilith, the first woman who was created equal with man, together with Adam. But then this is what's written in the Bible at the very beginning. But then this part was a bit taken away, and everyone talks about Eve, that was created of his rib. But many people forget about Lilith, and if it's the first time you hear about it, there is really a lot that can change the understanding of the roles, those let's say gender roles, and I think it's one of the keys to creating a more sustainable future for communities, for societies. So concluding, I just wanted to draw the attention of and add just a little bit different perception to today's discussion, saying that one thing that shouldn't be forgotten in this whole discourse is trying to combine today's processes and today's scientific achievements of women in business, women in politics, who have proved they can be at least as effective as men, occupying different positions, but using a different approach, and to combine it with the wisdom we have from the ancestors, the wisdom that was transmitted to us through all kinds of folklore and myths and everything else. And once we take a closer look and try to understand that, we have this female energy, the male energy, that are both good, but in different, let's say, types of situations, then I think we can find optimal approaches and avoid a lot of things that are leading to complications, destruction, and those situations we happen to find ourselves in terms of clashes and conflicts.
Indeed, thank you, dear Yulia, for elaborate to discuss regarding the place of women in ensuring peace and international cooperation. Of course, we just concluded the first segment of listening keenly from the different viewpoints, or listening to the different viewpoints of our speakers patterning this discussion. But I think it is also imperative for us to try to understand we have some keywords like international cooperation, we have women, we have geopolitics, and of course global issues. So I will continue with you, Yulia. You made mention about so many aspects. Then as a political scientist, what do you think the stakes of international cooperation in contemporary society, and as a woman political scientist, in your own perspective, how can we solidify this international cooperation which is at stake because of the conflict or the discrepancies we see today among world nations?
Well, you see, this is what is being widely discussed right now in terms of soft skills, right? So we see how education programs are changing to add more of soft skills to you know, the agenda that the children are being exposed to. Soft skills are a huge part of any business management, you know, education, whether it's you know, master's courses or whatever. So it's becoming clear that you cannot really go far strategically without the soft skills, right? Because I mean communication and negotiation skills and you know, all of those issues that are that now people are becoming more and more aware that it's not just enough to know something, to have a set of skills that can ensure your rational and logical you know, behavior, but at the same time issues related to communication, to let's say understanding, to mindfulness, psychology, and all of those are becoming more and more topical. And this is something, again, that is traditionally more associated with you know, female, let's say, contribution. When you look at a community or a family as a model, you will see that in many cases it's the female who's responsible for, let's say, the atmosphere, the traditions. She's the one who knows when is you know, the anniversaries and birthdays and whatsoever else, and she's there to keep those things in line. And the same applies to business, because this is what I was seeing quite a lot in terms of some of the negotiations that simply go wrong because people try to stay too firm on their grounds. They don't want to understand the other position and try to find some compromise. And sometimes in the politics, it's very much the same. You cannot just simply divide things into black and white, good guys and bad guys, because the world is a bit more complicated. Nothing is purely evil and nothing is purely good, right? You just need to look at the different trends and make sure that different interests are being considered at the global arena. And this is how a more balanced world order can be established, because you cannot just go by ignoring other person's interests. And this is how exactly how you get into a fight. This is exactly what we have been observing you know, throughout the history, because people cannot negotiate. But I also think that one of the keys to solving today's issues is focusing more on cultural ties and focusing more on trade, because this is something essential, right? And this is something, those are the lines along which we can build better relations. We see that it is more beneficial to live in peace, where we can ensure development for different sides, and to understand that you cannot be autonomous in this world, that you need everyone else to have a more complex picture and a better quality of life for everyone, I would say. So those are the key approaches in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you for that, dear Yulia. Let me come to you, Eva. While doing your presentation, of course, Mr. Salifu directed a question to you, which I'll be directing to you at this particular moment. He is asking, what is the role of women in driving the international cooperation, especially women who are not educated? This is a question from Mr. Salifu, one of the participants, to you, Eva Ben-Hertz.
Yeah, yeah, I read the question and I'm thinking about it actually. Well, the non-educated women internationally, I don't know. I don't know how can they really contribute if they do not have like let's say international exposure. But I would go actually it doesn't have to be like international exposure. It can be exposure really like on a local level. It can be really that that they're participating in the as Purnima has said, women play really crucial role at home as well, starting for like preventing conflicts and ensuring like really peace, starting from the very basic cell, which is the home, and then the community, and then I don't know, the village, the city, and internationally, I don't know like how, because the question is, I didn't get a clarity on how women should play this role. So my question is, what is the role of women on driving the international cooperation, especially the non-educated women? So as I said, if they live, let's say, okay, if they work in an international company, and let's say they are non-educated, still, even let's say the cleaning ladies played a huge role at the UN. I can tell you this, because the cleaning ladies at the UN, let's go from there, that they're not educated. Some of them were educated though, but still, even they use these soft skills, what Julia was mentioning, like to ensure this natural, nice environment, in order to ensure like really like peaceful working and nice interaction between people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, dear Eva. Dr. Roslyn, if you can hear me, I would like you to elaborate on this aspect. Do you think women have the perfect scope to maybe showcase their potentials in solving some of this problem? Because while you were talking earlier on, you mentioned that there is need for peace because there are conflicts, there are crises all over the globe. So do you think as women, it's true, women are becoming more and more engaged in global politics, in global issues, I beg your pardon. Do you think they have the right scope to go or contribute their own quota in solving these problems, and of course ensuring that the gap existing between nations are being closed for the benefit of all?
Okay, thank you for that question. But before I actually go into it, I don't know if you mind. If you don't mind, I may want to chip something to the previous question on how uneducated women may actually contribute in. Yeah. So
Of course you can do that.
Yeah, while Eva was responding to that question, I was just kind of reflecting, and I was thinking that if we actually recognize the fact that they are uneducated and we want them at the same time to contribute, I would say since women have been identified in let's say trying to reconcile people and reinstall issues after conflict, it means that the women who are already empowered need to try and see how they can help the others who are not educated, because till they are able to be educated or till they're aware of certain things, it might be very difficult for them to participate. So if it's within a local space where these women, let's say they don't have access to education, it might be good for other women, other organizations, or even individuals to try and see how they can create certain institutions where these women can get basic knowledge of certain things. Sometimes they could even do like ordinary crafting, not necessarily being educated in terms of going to school. The other handiwork that they can actually do. And from that direction, I think that they'll be able to take a step towards contributing to global peace and security. So I think we first of all need to look at it from the direction of trying to empower them at the very basic level. And, and then moving back to my question, I don't know, can I be reminded once more?
I was asking if you think women have the perfect scope to be able to showcase their potentials or to contribute towards this peace that the world is in dire need of, and of course, international cooperation.
To an extent, I would say yes, and to another extent, I would say it's a no. If I say it's a yes, I think it is so because women are now being given a lot of leadership positions. Women are participating in politics, which are already avenues through which they can actually showcase their contribution towards peace and security. But to another extent, especially in areas that women don't really have that power, I would say it's difficult for them to actually be in that space where they can make known their voice, where they can actually do some of those activities that is directed towards global peace and security. So it's a two-sided thing.
Okay, thank you. Madam Purima, let's continue this discussion. We are looking at the place of women here. And of course, we are not also relegating the men, but let's try to see, do you think there is the perfect or the what proxemics exist between the men and women in solving the world's problems? Let's take, maybe you take a case study of India when it comes to solving even domestic and as well as international problems. What proxemics exist between men and women?
It is very interesting question and very common one-sided once again. Man and woman, you know, two pillars of the society. And as Julia mentioned, very good word, female energy, okay, feminine energy. We cannot imagine world without female energy. And woman is energy in this planet. If this energy is not existing, man cannot do anything. And we can see in many cases that where females are not there, how this society exists. Sometimes we can observe in the military campuses where females are not there, only males are there. So how this society become? It is with aggression, with anger all the time, and they want to fight. They are little messy. Okay, discipline is there, obedience is there, because these are the forces on man. But practically, they are uncomfortable, uneasy in that environment. So we come back to the man and women. Man and women both are essential, both are complementing each other, and without man and women we cannot imagine peaceful world. So this is a coexistence of man and woman in the society. But of course women role is more important because women have to manage all sections of the society, and of course man also. So this is more additional work to her. So the now we can see that in current world order, women are playing very important role. They are equally taking part in the all conflicts and all discussions and all declarations. Though before 2000, in all, because I was just studying about your topic in Google, so I saw one statement of United Nations that till now 39 peace declaration is done, and in all peace declaration women's signature is not there. Though this peace declaration matters and effort is done by the women, but when signing part came, women were not there. In negotiations, women were not there. So women are important, playing important role in peacekeeping, peace building, but at execution time they are missing. So we have to take care, and male and female are two essential part of the planet. They need coexistence, good ecosystem, and they should obey the rule of universe to respect environment and to respect the planet, animals, flowers, tree, plants, everything. Because this is the responsibility of human beings, and complete human being means male and female. So they are like a caretaker of the planet because their knowledge and wisdom is the highest, and they can make this planet beautiful, and they can do destruction by the wars. This is in their hand. But women always try to restrict the war. they always try to create. So this is the difference between man and woman. I can say that creative and beautiful part goes toward woman side, destructive aggression part goes to male side. And to change the male psychology and male environment into love is responsibility of the women. So women is important and male female role is important in the society.
Indeed, indeed, we need a concerted effort from both men and women to be able to solve our problems facing the global world, global challenges. Let me stay with you, Madam Theodemar. You know, women are key stakeholders in accelerating sustainable peace and development worldwide. So what avenues, as per your perspective, are available for women to take on this, and how can they define a clear trajectory for the post-transforming world?
Sorry, can you repeat your keywords of your question?
I said, of course, women are key stakeholders when it comes to accelerating sustainable peace and development worldwide. So I was asking if there are the right or what are the available avenues for women to take on, exploit, and of course, how can that define a new trajectory in this post-transforming world? You mentioned it, of course, there's the quest for a new world order. So let's look at the avenues that women can actually explore to be able to attain this objective.
All right. Actually, in New World Order, we can see that gender equality is there, and woman is well aware about their rights, and they can explore all the opportunities. But the hurdles and riders are that now we are passing in from the digital era, and during digital era, information system is very good. Communication system is very good. Like today, we are sitting together from all regions of the world. Okay, from Africa, Asia, Europe. Together, we are sitting. This is the gift of the communication system and digital age. I think that we can resolve by dialogue all problems. And in current digital era, we can communicate, we can share our ideas and our problems with whole world, with all continents. So I think digital and artificial intelligence is the good rider to resolve all the conflicts, all to build new world order and to resolve all the hurdles in the world. So I feel that now modern woman is having new tool in their hand, and it is digital communication tool.
Of course, very
Internet
imperative. Yeah, making good use of the digital ecosystem to make their voices heard positively on issues that are of utmost importance. Climate change, we have the coronavirus that some countries are still recovering from the adverse effect. And of course, today we see a political crisis dividing the global world. We're going to continue wanting also to appreciate our participants who are there and encouraging them to send forth their questions or their preoccupations in the chat room so that guests can actually answer to their worries. Let me come to you, dear Yulia. We know bilateral and multilateral relations are strengthened through peace and global order. The world is divided today among political or political economic lines. So, and we know that also women are great facilitators and have proven their prowess in peace building. Now, the question is, how can international bodies increase women's participation in fostering agreements for global cooperation?
Well, in the first place, another plot twist that I would add to this is that, and this is something we are again observing in some cases in modern day politics, and that's exactly why I was saying that it's not enough to be a biological woman to be transmitting the female energy as we traditionally understand it, right? Because when the dark side of the matter comes in, sometimes we see not just the opposite, but even maybe something more destructive than the opposite. What I try to say over here is that a woman at rage, let's say, is in some cases even more dangerous than a man. And when we see, in some cases, when we see females occupying some positions that are related to military, or women in military or in similar positions, might become much more violent and cruel than any man can, right? So here we need to understand that, you know, what exactly we're trying to talk about here, because the dark side of this is also something that's that we observe. And, you know, in some cases, it is important to consider that, again, you know, a woman occupying some of those positions related to military, or a woman who has gone through a war as a fighter, can be much more violent and cruel than a man can. And we have historically, we have seen so many examples of that. So when we talk about the role over here, again, it's important to understand what kind of an energy is coming from, right? When we see female actors being politicians, it does not automatically mean that they would be transmitting the, you know, those vibes of cooperation and soft skills and everything else. And again, you know, a man can transmit, you know, those soft skills, you know, quality communication vibes better than some, you know, females can do. But I think the key over here is just simply to understand that the only way we can survive as humanity, because this is, again, what is at stake right now. We have seen, you know, the pandemic. We have seen many decades of trying to tackle issues of hunger, issues of, you know, basic needs like access to clean water, issues of poverty. And even though we do have enough resources on this planet for everyone to be fed and happy, and you know, in this case, we still have not done it. Now we see a major military conflict that is at risk of pulling even more countries into it, even more actors into it. It's at risk of using more and more, you know, weapons of, I don't know, mass destruction or whatsoever else. And what we need is to keep building, you know, this temple of love in this world of chaos. And by this, I do not mean just something, you know, trivial, but I mean focusing on constructive little things we can do by, again, you know, using trade, using economic cooperation as, you know, keys, using cultural you know, ties, and trying to see the you know, the good things about different cultures, trying to understand each other and understand where different sides are coming from, the opponents, trying to understand their traditions, their background, and everything else. Just generally speaking, instead of focusing on the differences, to try to focus on similarities, on what makes us humans in the first place. And just rationally speaking, trying to understand that cooperation is always more beneficial. It's not a zero-sum game over here. It's not about either I win or I lose, right? It's about finding those approaches that can strategically help us survive as humanity.
Thank you for that. Indeed, cooperation is necessary for the world to function as one, and of course to solve interconnected problems. We cannot be divided and yet fight a common cause. Yulia, we made mention of something which I want you to join on before I move to the next speakers. The aspect of multilateralism. This is something that is already very prevalent across the globe, especially in Africa nowadays we hear words multilateralism. Can we educate, of course, the general public on this aspect of multilateralism while highlighting some of the advantages of this multilateralism in contemporary society?
I think the key to understanding what multilateralism is all about is in analyzing own, let's say, strengths and weaknesses, and realizing that we cannot function effectively without each other, right? Because one, let's say, country, if we're talking about this, can be strong in one thing but weak in something else. And when we cooperate, we can really get the synergy effect. So multilateralism is all about synergy, right? Because we have different traditions, we have different resources. And if we look at it as if it was a field of flowers, right? One flower would open early in the morning, other flower would open later, you know, they blossom in different periods of time, and it makes them different, but it does make them one worse than another, right? And this is how it's, again, you know, created. This is what we observe in Mother Nature, right? We can just take something out and think that everything else wouldn't change. And this is the core, I believe, to understand why being different yet equal in those multilateral relations can bring us to a more successful, you know, future, a more sustainable future. Because if we take something out in one place, let those be resources or whatever else, and we don't give anything back, sooner or later that would hit us. And unfortunately, the current paradigm that we're in is to a certain extent built on this, in just trying to use the benefits of you know, others, and not to provide back what is supposed to be provided. So once we realize that, okay, here we have this, you know, this country is strong at this country has great technology, this one has the resources, and they cannot live without each other. Because when they exchange, they can create something. When they cannot, they will not. And this is, again, something that was so well explored in you know, tons of literature. And we don't need to invent something new over here. We just need to re-examine what we have and our own strengths and weaknesses, and be honest with each other, and when we communicate as well. And this is how the system can be just more balanced, when we don't have a situation of a golden billion who's happy and 6 more billion who's suffering and struggling to get food and water.
Okay, thank you so much. Coming quickly to you, Dr. Rosalie, we highlighted, and of course you highlighted some of these problems. Now, let's answer this question. What, in your own perspective, why is it imperative to integrate gender in global issues? And the second question, which you will actually correlate with the first, is what do you think there is a need for a paradigm shift as far as global issues are concerned, and as far as bringing solutions to these problems also are concerned?
Okay, I'll take on the first question, though I've not really gotten it clearly. Are you trying to ask if gender?
Why is it imperative to integrate gender in all global issues?
Okay, I think it's an imperative thing because, first of all, you know, gender issues are already problematic. So if we don't consider the fact that issues of gender needs to be accommodated, then we are not working towards the cooperation which we all are seeking. So it is necessary that we think of men and women as equal, men and women as being capable of working interchangeably. The fact that women are often being dominated, we need to be able to lift up, to eradicate that point by making sure that women are placed in the same position just as men. So if we don't look at issues of gender, or if we don't try to bring gender equality into the scene, then we are just wasting time talking about global peace and security, cooperation, and all those things. So gender is a very vital point that needs to be incorporated for us to achieve peace building. Then the next question you said?
I was looking at as for you, what do you think, or what do you think we need to introduce this paradigm shift in order to attain set objectives as far as women and men are concerned, and of course in solving these global challenges? Because of course there's a need for a shift.
Yes, of course. I think we need to actually consider the shift or to introduce it, because if we look at gender and women's contribution so far in issues of peace building or in resolving conflicts, we will see that women have contributed a lot positively. Like I mentioned about the conflict in Sierra Leone and how women actually rose up in unity, paraded the streets and called up the attention of the international community, then you all would agree with me that women are playing very vital roles. And because of that, there needs to be that shift to accept the fact that women can actually contribute and let them be seen at that level where they are placed equally to participate with men, where they are placed in leadership positions. I know that is already happening, but I feel a lot still needs to be done, especially like when we talk about the uneducated women. If we don't try to educate the women, then we're not bringing all women to work together as one, because women normally, when we come in front, we stand for peace, we stand for unity, we stand for collaboration and all those things. So for us as women, keeping our fellow women aside, knowing very well that they can equally contribute, then it's just creating more conflicted issues that only prevents the issue of peace and security.
Indeed, thank you so much. We cannot solve a problem by creating another. Coming swiftly to you, Eva, there's a participant from Côte d'Ivoire who is more concerned on the issue of climate change and looking at the place of women or the role women can play in actually tackling this climate change, which is affecting the global world presently.
Yeah, thank you, Clarice. So for me, this is a very important issue because I'm a climate change expert and environment expert. So I would say all these obligations countries have taken under Paris Agreement that we should keep 1.5 degrees inside for human and planetary being, and how energy savings can reduce emissions. They are all on a very, very global level and industrial level. But I think that here we should think globally and act locally. Women and everybody, every individual. You know, an African wisdom that is on the Berlin Wall, which is the symbol of division and connection between nations, is many small people who in many small places do many small things can alter the face of the world. Women, as I said, actually every individual can tackle climate change in a very personal and simple way. I am always asking myself, how can I contribute to live in a healthier place, healthier planet? For example, now there are, because there is a lack of rain in Jamaica, the Flintstones are getting fires, and we cannot breathe basically. So this is something that we cannot really like control. But what we can control is, for example, simple things. At the moment, I'm living in Jamaica, tropical island, where it's very hot, but still I'm living in an open space. I'm trying not to use air conditioner, if then a ventilator, even though it's maybe more comfortable to have 16 degrees, but I can also live with 25 or 27. You know, I think that we should like leave our selfishness on the side and think about like how much freon and ozone depleting substances are we gonna emit in the planet, basically. Like everybody of us should think in their own way, how can they contribute to climate change and to respect the environment for it to be sustainable for future generations. So the role of women as the role of everybody of us, I would say it in a very personal level. Everybody of us should think, what can I do in order not to pollute, in order not to destroy it, so I can do better.
Indeed, we need to be conscious, of course, of what we can do at a personal level to be able to mitigate the climate change effect, of course, and to avoid, mitigate the pollution. Indeed, indeed. I see a question coming from Salifu to Yulia, and he was asking if there is a male equation to the role of women in ensuring peace and international cooperation. Can it be women affair only? I think you can answer simply or briefly to that question, dear Yulia, of course.
Yes, well, what I would have to say on this subject is that we should you know, again, coming back to the very same issue, we should realize that we're not this or that, you know, it's not just you know, black and white and whatever. And males have demonstrated the ability to use soft skills. That I do not think that they're all about destruction and everything, but the specific features of the force that they use are just different. The same applies to females, who are not only about flowers and roses and good communication skills. They also have this, you know, strength and force, but it's just of a different quality. And again, women have proved to be very effective and successful in typically or traditionally male associated areas, just like the other way around. So we can see that it's like a quantum model where we don't have to choose if it's either or, but it's both at the same time, depending on the situation, the observer, and many other things. So when we talk about this kind of approaches, they can be applied to pretty much anything, right? If we use them wisely, if we use them wisely and with a good intention. I think this is key in this whole concept. So I don't know if I've answered the question that was posed, but you know, we need to understand that a lot of things are, on the one hand, much more simple than we are used to thinking, but we need to really have you know, a feel and a sense of it. And when we set that intention, you know, to cooperate, to be respectful to each other and so on, then we can find all the necessary tools and the necessary approaches regardless.
Indeed, thank you so much. Before we round off, I just wish to ask our participant if anyone has anything to say briefly before we round over this program. Mr. Paseka?
Hello, Miss Clarice.
Yes.
Oh,
thank you for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this brilliant program. In my comments, I think that I had indicated that more than a question, I just wanted to say a comment with the brilliant analysis of the commentators. And I really appreciate the level of critique, critical thinking specifically, that the women in the panel have faced out, and some of the questions, the brilliant questions that you even put forward. And it is very difficult for me to ask questions. I apologize for that. It is very difficult for me to face questions in this situation, because I look at this space as a learning space. You know, it's a brilliant learning space, and I just want to personally thank all the participants, the speakers, and I'm so motivated. The only thing that I struggle with is why we struggle so much to have more women engaged in these matters, and specifically in these spaces, which are very difficult and are very complex, and they are very encouraging, because once you have more women, that I believe with more bodies and spaces, then more change and effort can go into the difficult what do you call those, the difficult challenges that women specifically are faced with, you know, because at the end of the day, limited numbers do not account for much. That's why we've been having these engagements for about a decade, even way more, actually not a decade, way more than a decade, several decades. But the sad reality is that without more women invested, this space should have about 1,000 of several thousands, if not hundreds of participants, specifically women, because we are celebrating and getting to learn from women in very critical positions in the world right now. So you need a lot more than the numbers that we have. And I hope that in some spaces or some way we could be able to share the space and these engagements moving forward. Thank you, Clarice.
Thank you. And of course, thank you for being there and actually contributing to this very important knowledge sharing series where with this great panel of experts, we were being enlightened on some of the challenges of the world and see the place of women in, of course, contributing their quota in solving these world problems. Peace is a prerequisite for everything, for development, and Afro Skills preaches development of the continent Africa. And how can we ensure this development if the world is not peaceful? So it is very imperative for us to ensure this peace, and of course to see that we can attain our objectives and channel resources to the right places so that we can see the transformation, the total transformation of the world, so that with this new world order, everybody is going to actually have a say and have a share of what it brings up. Of course, positively. Time for us to have a concluding statement from our panel of experts. I will say, I'll start off with you, dear Purnima Anand, reiterating that you joined in your capacity as a BRICS International Forum president and from India. So what is the take-home message as we culminate this webinar this day?
BRICS women are, united because since last 10 years, I am working in the BRICS bloc. And from India, of course, I lead many projects at government level as well as personal level. Julia Berg always stand with me with solidarity, and many African women, and you are also part of that. And we are feeling that BRICS women is having their own world because we develop from the struggles, we develop from the crisis, we pass from the revolution, and we know what is the meaning of peace, because our environment didn't give us very smooth life, very luxury life. We are struggling for all that, and we achieve by our skill, our intelligence and wisdom. So I feel that BRICS women's role is very important, and BRICS women are the leader, and nowadays in new world order, they will play very important role in new peace building environment, because now world is stretching. We don't know what will happen in coming months, but BRICS can build new peace order in the world, and BRICS women are the important factor for that. And we all are together. We are working together since long time. We can feel that it is going to be happen.
Indeed, indeed. When women, of course, come out positively, we see the positive result. And to underline that in this era of globalization and multilateralism, it is, of course, imperative that we come together, compromise our differences for the good of the society here. Let me come to you, Dr. Roslyn Kember, Doctor of Philosophy in Political Sciences. Concluding statement from you before we culminate this program.
Okay, I just wish to say once more that women have a vital role to play in as much as conflict issues are concerned, in as much as peace building is needed. Women cannot be left out because having experienced a lot of trying and challenging times, people most often tell their stories better or can actually help in seeking solutions for their problems. So women stand that chance to contribute because of what they normally suffer. There are a lot of women out there who still suffer. I'm not really minimizing men, but there's a lot of gender issues or gender-based violence which is occurring around the world. So I would say, in as much as women are contributing towards peace and security, the issue of gender violence needs to be focused on very seriously because it's something that is still ongoing. If we're able to deal with that, then we're a step forward towards global peace and security.
Very imperative for knowing what to do and, of course, knowing the right time to act. And now, dear Eva Bernhardt, who joined from Germany, joined as Head of International Relations Evaluation at Berlin International. We'll be happy to have a concluding statement from you, dear Bernhardt, before we part ways.
Yeah, for me, my statement will be very short. I mean, I just think that we women have to keep on doing the same job, as I said, act locally, think how we can globally change the world, and act with a lot of passion that we have, with the feminine energy that Julia was mentioning. The one of us that are fighters or that were fighters in the corporate world, including me, I think that we should use our power really in order to ensure peace and international cooperation, to be like the networkers that connect the people and be negotiators. And I would like to see more of us to be peace negotiators, because I think that none of us want wars, but women the least, as all of you panelists have said. Thank you so much.
Indeed. It was great having you. It was great having you, dear Eva Bernhardt, and thank you for everything regarding our topic for discussion. And we're going to culminate this with Julia Berg, a political scientist who joined from Russia. Can you give us a take-home package as we are culminating this, of course, program, the knowledge series or knowledge sharing series program organized by Afro Skills, to reiterate.
Yes, concluding this amazing discussion, I would like to, well, first of all, thank the organizers and all of the participants, and just to say that, this famous poster that said, yes, we can, coming from like 40s or 50s, I think women have already proven that they can pretty much everything or anything, and women are great at multitasking. This is a part of, that female nature as well. Women can achieve amazing results.
Please, Yuli, can you check your mic?
Julia, please unmute your mic. Julia.
We can't hear you, Julia.
Julia.
We apologize for that, of course. Thank God, of course, we have come to the end of the program, this knowledge series webinar. We thank you, everybody, for participating, for your contribution. And of course, this is just the start. We're going to have such a, information is knowledge. And of course, we can only transform the world by sharing knowledge, giving the right knowledge to the right people, which would direct them towards making the right decisions. And of course, as we're ending this, I'm also sending out, especially to women out there who think that they are not concerned, especially with the political aspects of the world, just to say that everything, the policies that we have to implement in our corporate world, in everywhere, are being implemented by our various governments. So it is very imperative as a woman to know the narratives or things that are changing across the global world, and also to know the right path to take. And of course, we see even the United Nations Security Council over the years have been underlining the place or the importance of women in solving problems, in solving global issues. So it is a pleasure. I want to thank you again. And of course, I wish we had all the time to talk, because there's always a lot to talk about as it concerns the current issues affecting both the global world and especially the continent Africa, which I will say the continent at this particular time is actually in the height of multilateralism, and it gives the continent or stakeholders across Africa to make good use of this multilateralism, as we underlined the African Union Commission Chair Musa Faki Mahamat. It is time for African stakeholders to take good use, advantage of this multilateralism and define its own sphere at the international arena. Thank you so much. And of course, keep trusting Afro skills as we continue to transform the world, transform Africa in particular with knowledge. It was nice having you all. Bye-bye, and see you some other time this month, of course, as we continue to talk the very pertinent issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clarice.
Thank you, Clarice. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Great
Bye-bye.
weekend to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, better one for you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Julia. Thank you, Clarity.
Thank you, dear Pinima.
Thank you all.
Merci, merci beaucoup.
Goodbye.
Bye.